You're listening to Black Parents Aging, where we help you navigate caring for aging loved ones. Every Wednesday, we'll discuss how to help your parents successfully navigate this new season of life. We are going to talk about legal, health, technology, and finances. Here's your host attorneys, Olivia Smith and Nicola Robinson.
Welcome back to another episode of Black Parents Aging. I'm Olivia.
And I am Nicola. It's been a minute, so good to be back in the
Yes.
studio to record another episode. Today, we're going to talk about something I know a lot of people have been asking us about, and it's affected so many families across the country, and that is elder fraud and scams, which targets so many of our seniors and the families are just like, what can we do about it? So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about it and jump into what you can and cannot do. Mm.
Yes. And then when we get down to talking about the numbers are staggering. We're talking about billions of dollars with a B, not an M. And before anyone thinks, oh, this won't happen to my parents or grandparents, that's exactly what scammers are counting on.
Yeah, it's really, really scary. So we're going to walk through some of the common scams and then we're going to kind of tell you some tips and tricks to look out for so that you or your loved one will not be affected.
And just before we get started, I want to say at the beginning that if you have aging parents or grandparents, please share this episode with them. Or better yet, make them listen to it with you because awareness is literally one of the best defenses against these scams.
I was at dinner with friends a couple of weeks ago and we started talking about it and some of the scams that they had been subject to, and their spidey senses went off. So thankfully none of them actually were taken advantage of, but we were all amazed how almost everybody at the dinner table had experienced one of the scams. So we're going to talk about what kind of scams and what is happening now. Mm.
Yes, it is. It's a real problem. It's getting worse. I think I was looking at the numbers, and the FTC recently reported fraud lawsuits for people over 60 and older quadrupled from 600 million in 2020 to 2.4 billion in 2024.
Quadruple. That's crazy. That's a lot of money. Like, think about what we could do with
Yes,
billion with a B.
girl.
There would be no homeless problem. There would be so many other things that we can listen. The price of eggs would go down if we could get a billion back.
That
That's
is insane. And when you
Mhm.
think about it, these are just the people that were brave enough to actually report. Think about all of the people that are too ashamed or too embarrassed that they got scammed and they never reported. So that number is probably a lot larger than 2.4 billion.
That's a good point. There are so many people who are embarrassed. I mean, quite honestly. And so that lends to other issues because when our seniors are money's missing and the kids are like, what happened? And they're not being upfront about it. Now the children believe there might be something else going on. So yeah, it's really scary and sad to know there are probably so many people who are just silent because they feel like, well, we can't talk about it, or I'm too smart or I'm too savvy, so this should not have happened to me.
Exactly. And that brings us to another point because, from the seniors' perspective, from our aging parents and grandparents' perspective, I'm sure some of them have in their mind, okay, if I tell them that this happened to me, are they going to tighten the reins? Are they going to take my independence? Are they going to say that I can't, make my own decisions or take care of my finances anymore, that I don't have capacity? And so I think that is another big issue why these scams go unreported.
All right, so let's talk about some of the scams. You want to go first?
Okay.
What's one you think of?
Okay. So here I'm gonna give a scenario. I think is probably going. There, there are scammers that after someone loses money to a lottery scam, another scammer will call pretending to be a police detective. So the person has already lost money. So they're already vulnerable. Something has already happened. Then another scammer will call pretending to be a police detective or some sort of authority investigating that fraud. They'll ask for the victim who's already been scammed. They'll ask for all of their financial information to help with the investigation.
That's so scary and so sad because to add insult to injury, right? I've already been scammed out of
Double, double,
wow.
it's double scam. And sometimes it's more than twice. I know we I think Nicole, I think you were there. We went to um a presentation on this with the Attorney General's office for
Yeah.
Georgia, and they were talking about all the scams, and one of the attorneys was on the phone with one of the victims as the scammer was calling to get more information or wanted them to send more money, and they were so caught up in the scam they didn't believe
The
they
Attorney
didn't believe
General.
the actual attorney. They hung up to talk to the scammer. And so money is obviously a huge part of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, who can you trust, right? Because they are so convincing now, and with the technology and everything, they sound legit. Most of it sounds legit. So I think there's one that I know we've been talking about is like for when people call about like Medicare, Social Security benefits. Because
That's
a lot of our clients, they receive benefits. And so they usually get like a text or something that says, hey, your Social Security number has been suspended. You need to contact us right away. Or you need to contact us about your Medicare benefits. And so then they have the people call and they're like, let's verify or confirm your information. And so you voluntarily give them your Social Security number or give them your Medicare ID number. And then they need address, phone, typical
keeps
stuff.
going.
But you actually just gave it to them. They never had
Yes.
it to begin with. They're just trying to see if they can bait you and actually hook you.
And if you,
So
oh,
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. If you look on the website of Medicare, Medicaid, one of the things that on the official website that they say they will never call you and ask for your information. They if someone calls and asks for your social security number or something over the phone, that it is a sure scam.
And one of the things I know we have talked to with friends and family is if they text you or they call you, hang up, go to the official website, call whatever number is on that website, and then ask them. And they'll be like, no, we didn't call you because it's very rare. I can't think of any instance where they
No.
will actually proactively reach out to you. I know they've said that there's been a scam like your social security number is going to expire. You need a new card. Well, Social Security will just send you a new card. They don't need to talk to you first before they actually send out a card.
And one thing when you were talking about the Medicare scams, one thing that is new in 2026 is there's a new prescription drug cap. So like after I think 2100, your drugs are free. And so scammers like they stay up to date on all of these things. And so something else that they are telling people and warning people about are scammers are calling and say that you need to pay up front a processing fee so that you can qualify for the cap. Like this is just going into effect in 2026, and they've already figured out a way to scam people on this new law.
But you should never have to pay monies to
No.
qualify for benefits that you are already entitled to, especially Medicare. Because think about it, you get that when you turn 65. You didn't do anything to be able to qualify for Medicare. So if Medicare is telling you, or I need money, that should be a red flag. That should be the first moment you're like, wait a minute. Why do I have to pay you to get the benefits that I already should be receiving?
So specifically government impersonation scams, just government impersonation scams. They are I think it was in 2024, like $780 million just for government impersonation scams. So that takes, we're not thinking of all the other ways scammers get to you, but just impersonating the Social Security or impersonating being Medicare, Medicaid, just doing that, they are getting that much from and really it's really our seniors.
And that's why it's so important to, stay on top of any changes when it comes to Medicare, when it comes to Social
Yes.
Security, because our seniors are the ones that are benefiting from those types of programs. So making sure you, as the child, keeping up, knowing what's going on. If you're the one that's, visiting those websites or going to workshops and seminars, so you can understand what those changes are. So when your mom comes to you and be like, they call saying I need to give them money because there's been a change, you understand right away, hey mom, that's a scam.
That's not. And I think one of the things that scammers capitalize on are usually if there's some sort of crisis. So like your what you said, your social security number is about to be canceled, or you're not going to qualify for this cap. Your benefits are going to be terminated. And so they create a sense of urgency with our aging population, with our grandparents or parents, and they feel like they have to do something right now.
And that is another red flag. If it's some urgency, if it's saying act now, that should tell you, let me look into this, because there's no real scenario where it is immediate. Like if there were going to be changes to your benefits, they always send out a letter. They always give you a appeal time or a 1-800 number or something to contact them so that they can discuss it with you. But they always put the action on you to contact them. They're not calling you to tell you that they're going to cut off your benefits.
And when there's like this sense of urgency, like it has to happen now, people don't think clearly, especially aging people. Like they panic and they're like, okay, I don't want this cut off. I don't want this canceled. What do I need to do right now? And then that is how they get you. So another government agency that you should be wary of is the IRS. And I know
Weary already. We
me and you were talking about this yesterday. We want to always stay in good standing with the IRS. But the scam is them saying you owe back taxes and you need to get it paid. And um, because people have such a fear of the IRS already, and they want to make sure that they are in good standing, sometimes they fall for those scams as well. But once again, they will never threaten to suspend your social security number. They will never call you. Like Nicola said, they usually send something out and ask you to call them, or just send something out and tell you where you can pay your money. So if you're getting calls about this, that is a red flag for sure.
And I know from experience with the IRS, they'll send you a letter and tell you we kept your last refund because you
Correct.
owed us money. So they're gonna get right. They don't even need
They're gonna
to
take care
call
of it
you.
one way or the other. Don't you worry.
They're gonna
That
get
is
their
for sure.
money. What's another set? Any other ones that you can think of?
Yes. So this is one I think Nicola may, decide to share because I think she had a client
Oh
that fell
yeah.
into this. So the next one that is really prevalent and which is really sad are the romance scams.
Yeah.
And the numbers for that is 1.1 billion dollars in losses in 2024 from the romance scam. And they are devastating because it's emotional and they're really taking advantage of people who are lonely and want somebody.
Absolutely speak on this.
Yes.
Because we've had personal experience. We had a client, unfortunately, that was a victim of romance scam multiple times, actually. She had met what she thought was a lovely man on the internet. And so, as part of the scam, they create fake profiles, fake photographs, whole scenarios. And usually they call, start online, and it ends up going to the phone and they share, you start sharing details and information, and they ask more and more about you. And so you start to really feel comfortable and safe with these people, and then there's usually some situation, some crisis, oh, I need help.
Yes.
I know in my client's situation, she had been talking to this person. I won't even say gentleman because we have no idea who's on the other end, quite frankly. And he was coming to visit her. He lived somewhere else. He lived out of the country and he was coming to visit her. And he
They
got to
always live out the country.
always out, always unavailable. So they can't
Yes.
meet up for coffee or dinner.
Right.
Should be again, a good red flag. And so he needed to come visit her. There was issues with his passport, but if she sent some money, he'd be able to get that sorted out. Then I think he had told her he had a trust, but he wasn't able to access the money. So if she could just send some money, then he'd be able to reimburse her no problem once he got here. And so she did. She kept sending money. She kept every time they were supposed to meet up. Some accident, some incident, oh, my kids got sick, but if you send money, I'd be able to use that money to help them. And so that way I'd be able to come see you because I really want to come see you. And this went on for a while. And she gave him quite a bit of money.
If you
Like,
had to estimate, how much do you think she gave? If you
oh, well over $100,000.
That is
Well over.
insane. And the thing is, once they get their hook in you, it's like there's always another emergency. There's always another
Exactly.
reason to send money. And that
And I
is,
think her kids were so frustrated because this was a very savvy woman, multiple degrees, had a, very long career. And they could not convince her that she was not in a relationship and this was not because she wanted to be. She was lonely and she really thought she had met someone, and she had been a widow for a long time. So she was really excited about being in a relationship with someone. And so those I think are the hardest
yeah,
because from just a legal standpoint, there's nothing wrong with her, right? She still had cognitive ability. So there was not really much we could do to step in. She honestly believed that this person loved and cared for her. She was not suffering from a mental illness. She was not suffering from any type of decline. She was just taken advantage of.
so let's think about some warning signs or red flags for these situations. So if you only met them online and they are in love with you in a week or less, that is a red flag. If they, and you said this, if you can never meet in person, there's always some sort of excuse or reason that you guys can never meet in person, or they're overseas, they're in the military, they're on an oil rig, all of these would render them unavailable.
And now,
That
don't there are real people on oil rigs and overseas, but that's not what we're talking about.
correct. That would render them unavailable. And obviously, if they ask for money, that's
That's
a huge red flag. But
because
it
no relationship
is.
should start with
No,
money.
I love you. Can you send me $1,000? That is for sure a red flag. Um, Here's another one, and it's so funny. A good friend of mine posted on Facebook and was asking, "Does anybody know anybody that does like tech support?" Because she has an aging mom, and if you deal with the aging population, you know that
Tech.
tech support and them being tech savvy is an issue. And this is a new one for me. I hadn't really heard of this one, but tech support scams.
Yeah.
$1.3 billion in losses in 2023 alone.
Yeah,
That is
so it
that
makes sense though. Think about
yes,
it. If
it
the
does.
population didn't grow up necessarily with computers, so they're still um not necessarily as savvy. And so when they see this pop up saying they got a
Yes,
virus or this, that, and the other, they're like, oh, wait, what did I do? They almost always think they did something wrong. And so when someone calls and says, oh, we're Apple, we're Microsoft, which are legit companies, they're like,
yes.
okay, help me because I messed it up. And they usually are so scared that they messed it up and they don't want to tell their grandbaby or they don't want to tell their kids that they done messed up something on the computer. So they're trying to fix it before anybody else knows. And those tech people,
Yes.
you give them access to your computer and they can then put in malware, they can put in spy stuff that is now essentially a program running in the background that's capturing your personal information. My husband works in tech, so I know all of this.
Right. But I mean, once they get that access, that
Oh
remote
yeah,
access, they run amok.
they
And
get
I mean,
everything.
this should go without saying, but what everyone should know is Microsoft, Apple, Norton, all of these legitimate tech companies, they're never going to call you out the blue. Like that's just never going to happen. They don't monitor your computer remotely. So if you get an unsolicited call from someone claiming to be tech support, it's a scam. Hang up. If you get that pop up and it asks you to click, it's a scam. Like, hang up.
And
Here's
they
another
look
one. Go
legit.
ahead.
Like they will have the logo, what
Absolutely.
you want. Everything will look as it should. I've even had to second guess clicking on stuff and be
Same.
like, "Ooh, is that even right?" Because it looks so much like whatever they've essentially duplicated that. So to falsely help have you believe that that is the actual company. So you got to look again. There's usually something a little off. It's not perfect. So if the logo like, faded or something like that, it's probably a telltale sign.
And what I always look at, because they've almost got me a couple times, especially with emails, I go in and look at the email address. And usually
Mhm.
the email address isn't coming, the ad isn't from the company. It's like a
Mhm.
random email address. And so I'm like, okay, this isn't real.
Yeah.
But it looks very, very real.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught up.
Thanks for joining us this week on Black Parents Aging. Check out our Facebook group at Black Parents Aging, where we go live to answer your questions. For more info on today's topic, check out the show notes on our website, srlawgrp.com. If you know someone who could benefit from today's episode, please share a link to the show. Subscribe to the show to catch new episodes and leave a review. Until next week.